Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crossover Deep Dive. Today, I am thrilled to have with me Amélie Fortin. Hi, Amélie.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, we've established it's earlier than I thought it was going to be, so we're both maybe struggling a bit. Well, thank you so much for coming on to chat with me. You have a beautiful new original album, which we're excited to chat about.
Thank you.
I think what I love to do with all my guests, though, is to go very back to your beginning. How did you get started in music?
Yes, well, my mom was also a pianist. So when I was a baby and very young, she was playing almost daily. And I showed an early interest into music, obviously. And I started playing by ear when I was about 3 years old. I
Wow.
was playing the theme of my favorite TV show. And so my mom started to give me lessons when I was about 4 and 5, but we were arguing too much. So she sent me to another teacher, and then I never stopped.
I love that because I was homeschooled for a bit by my mom. So yeah, that's a definite.
You
you,
know,
yeah, you sometimes need that separation. Okay, now you're out getting new training, and I think Quebec also has quite a unique music scene. Seems like a lot of different influences. So what was that like? What's that scene like in growing up in that space?
well, I was from a little town in Lac Saint Jean. So
Okay.
there we had like a hall with many venues, but it was quite small. But when I moved to Montreal like 20 years ago, then I discovered that there is so many like concerts venues of all styles, and it's really nourishing to listen to all that music. And yeah, it's very nice to be here in Quebec.
Is that where you went to university then? Amélie was in Montreal.
Yes, yeah, 20 years ago, I moved to study at the University of Montreal in interpretation, and since then I just started working here and never get back. Well, I'm still very attached to my hometown, and I go there every year because there is a great summer camp in Metabichuan. So I teach there, and my parents are still there too. They have a farm, so whenever I can, I go back there. But it's 5 hours driving.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's quite a hike. So tell me, in when you're in university, you met someone very special and you started a collaboration, this wonderful piano duo that's been so well received. You won all these awards. So tell us a little bit how that started for you.
Yes, well, I met Marie-Christine Poirier because we had the same teacher, and she was also from a little town. So I guess we just had a lot of common, and we became great friends. And in the baccalaureate, we had to take chamber music lessons. So as we were friends, we decided just to sign up together. And then we always said that the magic happened there because we found that it was so easy to play together, and we had a lot of fun. So after our master degrees in solo, we decided to do a DESS, which is just 1 year of specialization in piano duo. So we learned a lot of repertoire, and we decided that we wanted to push this project further. And since then, we never stopped. So now it's been 20 years that we're playing together,
Wow.
and we're almost like sisters. We did a lot of international competitions together. We traveled and we toured, and we're like also business partners. And there's no day that we don't speak to each other. So it's great to have a friend like that, and a project like that too.
Also on stage, because I sang a little with my sister, it's nice having another person with you, right? Just like you're less alone.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're a pianist, you spend so many hours like playing alone in your little space, and now sharing like because I know that most pianists prefer to play on two pianos because they have more space. But for us, and because of here in Quebec, the halls mostly have one piano, and it's easier to do more duet on one piano. But we prefer that because we can breathe together, we can take risks as well, and we feel each other much more easily. And yes, we share, of course, the excitement of the concerts and everything, and we travel together, and life is better when we're two.
And can you tell us a little bit about the strengths? Because I assume, like every vocalist, every pianist has a slightly different style. So, some of the strengths that you have, some she has, and then you can work on that together.
Yes, it's funny because I'm supposed to be the best at trills, and we always joke about that. But and she's very good at on repeated notes. But apart that, I think we just, I don't know. It's like a yin and a yang.
Yeah.
We're like a whole person together, like a squid with many many eyes. I don't know. And yeah, I think Mary has a very good like head. She's really organized, and me, I'm more maybe sensitive, and I bring the maybe the colors, or yeah, it's fun to share like how we are at the piano.
I was looking at clips of your channel together, and there was this one performance where it was like holding the strings of the piano. So I guess you guys, beyond the classical, you're doing some innovative things. So tell us about some of those other techniques that you use to get new sounds.
Well, we love to include in our programs music from living composers, and we also ask commission works on every program we play. So this piece was by Vanessa Marcoux, and it was the story of trees. It was called Chronique d'une coupe à blanc, and she wanted to express like the machine cutting the trees, so she just put this extension technique where we just mute the strings, and it sounds much more percussive. So yeah, we like to explore and to bring, because there are so many great composers, and we love, of course, playing Mozart and the great classical Schubert and everything, but we also are ambassadors of new music, and we think it's important to bring and to explain this music to the audience, because they want to, they're curious too. Sometimes we think, oh no, contemporary music will be too hard to understand, but it's not true, and we always have great comments of the music we choose to include that are more contemporary.
I think it's interesting too, because it seems like a lot of the contemporary music, the outlet that it's gone to is film. So people actually might be more familiar with different scenes from films, right? When they're trying to capture a mood, these modern composers will be there. You talked about commissioned work, so tell me a little bit more about that process. Do you kind of just say, this is a local composer that's wonderful, write us something, or is it more an exchange of ideas? Give us a little bit of this. How does that process work?
Well, we decided that we want to include female composers from Quebec in every production we made. So we have, of course, we have friends that are composers, and we choose them because we love their work. But every production we are doing are around a theme and a thread. So sometimes we have an idea, because for example, our last concert was about the night. It was called Nuit Blanche, and we had many repertoire around this theme, but we didn't have a piece to express the moment between when you're not sleeping but you're dreaming, this kind of space. So we asked Maggie Ayot, the composer, we gave her this idea of, can you write something about this precise moment, like where you're floating between two, and she just started writing something beautiful about that. And so yeah, we give ideas to the composers and then they just go on their way. And it's important for us to give them also the liberty and the free that they feel free to write, like to express their creativity also.
One of the things that you highlight on your website is that classical music, not that there aren't women that are composers, but it's not as highlighted, it's not as common as, you know, for their counterparts. So obviously you have been playing, improvising, you mentioned playing by ear since you were a child, but how did you start composing? What was that process like for you?
It was more in my 30s, I would say, because I received a very great classical etude, and my teacher was very great in classical, but I always wanted to play by myself. But it's like in classical music, sometimes we're not allowed to do so. So when I was 15 years old, I get a gig in my village, in my hometown, as an organist at the church. And then, you know, in the little books, there are songs, but with no like left hand written. It's
okay.
chords. So I always joke about that, like it's because of Jesus if I started playing pop music. I didn't have the choice then. So I since then I always like play by ear and write some ideas, but it's like I was not allowing myself to, because you know composers study composition, but I didn't study composition. But I started arrange, and like I play a lot with choirs, so sometimes I just compose my own accompaniment. And yeah, some at, you know, the pandemic for everyone was like a moment of thinking what do I want. And I've always been creative, like doing clothes or calligraphy, or I need to create, and photography as well. So during the pandemic, I told myself, okay, I have time and I want to compose music. Like I allowed myself to bring this project like more seriously. And what was the question? Not really. I don't. Well, yeah. So it's
how you started. So yeah, you're right on track.
Yeah, since this moment, I decided to apply for a grant, which I had, and it makes me put this project more seriously in my life, because I had no choice to deliver something at this deadline. So but I'm so happy I did it, because it's a great thing. And now, you know, I tour a lot and I'm always everywhere, but this allows me to be with myself, like introspective moment, almost like meditation. It's my time for me. It's like a gift that I gave me.
So you talking about this, obviously it led to your new album, Aqualudes. But it was interesting you mentioned having a deadline, because I feel like that must be quite hard when you're composing for yourself to be like, and now it's finished. And like, oh, I want to change a little bit. How are you able to say, now it's finished, this is my deadline?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I always think about that. Like, it's like painters when they sign their name on their canva, you know. But at some point I was playing the pieces and changing things, but I get attached to certain notes, to certain forms. So I think at one point it was clear that okay, I don't need to change anything. And it was hard at some point as well to say okay, now it's done. But I think I was more like, it's those pieces, they're like that, and there will be other pieces with the other ideas I didn't use. And yeah, I just like, okay, I decided that now it's done. But also, I, as a pianist, I was playing my own pieces, so I was kind of becoming a more an interpret for this part. So I could say how it feels to play them. And And I decided that, okay, now it's done and I can go further and just record them.
So tell us about the theme, because you have 4 tracks and they each represent different streams of water, right? So how did you, were you out in nature listening? Or were you listening to just nature sounds at home? How did you come up with this theme?
Well, at first I always compose starting with improvisation. So, and I note my ideas and everything. And when I was listening to the music I created, I was realizing that it reminded me like the fluidity of water, like the continuous movement of water. So, and I'm very like, I'm from Lac Saint Jean, so this area we have a big lake. It's almost like a sea, and I'm really attached to the water, obviously. And I realized that, yeah, the pieces reminded me water, so I thought that would be a great theme, and there will be many ideas to explore with that. So yeah, the 4 pieces are related to a waterway in Quebec. But for people who don't know those waterways, I found the places that have also a title that could be sound poetic a little bit, like Lac Miroir. It's like a very calm lake, and like a very floating ideas in this piece. And Rivière du Nord is more like an ode to the time that passes, like just the movement of the water that continuously goes. And Mistassini is more like a river, very sinuous and dangerous river. So the piece is a toccata. And yeah, the other one, Chateau Galais, is a toccata as well, but it's more like a great large movement, and with a lot of rhythmical surprises.
I'm going to just put up the cover of your album here. It's beautiful. And we'll talk about your photography in a minute as well. But especially on the first track, I noticed there's this upper melody that's very simple, but then the left hand, I assume, is just moving and moving, all this movement. How do you find that balance between the stillness and the movement?
Oh, that's a great question. For this one, I was really inspired by a piece by Hiromi. I don't know if you know her, but she's a great jazz pianist and composer, but she was also classically trained. And she had this beautiful piece called Haze. And it's really touching. Like she's doing a kind of a continuous movement with just some notes changing, so the color change slowly, but there's this beautiful melody upside this. And this was my first inspiration, so I tried to do something like that. But and I wanted this piece to be more popular, if I could say, like,
Yeah.
more jazzy, with jazz colors, but more in a popular form, like almost like a jazz standard. And then I improvise, but everything is written for this piece. But it's kind of the theme developed and get more complicated. And so I don't know it. I'm really intuitive person when I compose, so I wanted to play music that will challenge me but also please me emotionally. So I think that I just trusted myself with what I wanted to play.
I think it's interesting that a lot of classical musicians do gravitate to jazz because there's so much complexity. There's all these modes and everything, right? Like, it's incredible what it's doing there. But you mentioned before how that church experience of learning to play the chords kind of also gave you that background. Tell us about your other collaborations, because as well as being, in this duo, you also teach, but you also, you play for many people as an accompanist. So what's that like, being in that new relationship where you're kind of following them, or do you lead them when they need it? It's like a different relationship.
Yeah, and it's a relationship that I really love. I think it goes well with my personality because I like to be on the spotlight, but I also like to to bring someone like in front, and just to be like, so they can rely on me, and I like to listen and to make like you're in the present moment. When you accompany, you have to react on spot, and I like that really really much, really. And I play with Pierre Lapointe since couple years. He's a French Canadian singer songwriter, and he's doing very beautiful songs. And I'm really attached to karaoke. I love to sing and to be around the piano and make people sing. So I feel that I can find that in this collaboration, like to be with him. He's in front, he's doing the lyrics and everything, but I'm just here to support him. And I also work with a lot of choirs, and it's the same. Like I'm there, but I'm not the conductor. Like he's doing the thing, and I'm just there to support. And yeah, I think it's a great thing to have that with the duo. Like my life is quite balanced with that, I would say. But of course, it's not always easy to deal with all those schedules, and it's kind of
I bet.
but I love a company. Yeah.
I also saw on your social media you'll do these videos where you're doing multiple voices, or you also play. Is it the tin whistle, or you play different things? And I've seen it before. I don't know the name of it. It looks like a music stand, and you're kind of air.
Yeah.
What is that? Tell us about that and all the different.
It's a harpeggi, and it's a new instrument. I think it was invented 20 years ago. By a man in the USA, in Maryland. And it's kind of they say it's like a guitar feeling but piano soul or something like that. I don't remember there, but it's it's a wood thing. And I have like 24 strings. I have 8 electric bass strings and 16 guitar strings. So, but the board is like divided like a piano, so you know exactly where the notes are, because you have like the white and black keys, and you just have to like do that. I don't know the word in English. You don't pluck, but you just push the strings, and there's a pickup mic on every string. So yeah, it's really nice, and it's cool because I love the guitar, but I'm not good at all. So it makes me believe that I'm a guitarist when I play that.
That is so cool. I want to pivot a little bit here and go to now more of your visual art. So I would guess that this cover here, is this something that you either directed or you took yourself?
Yes, my fiance took it, but I was not supposed to put this as a cover, but finally I found that it was a nice image. And yeah, I directed it. And I don't know if you saw, but I'm really in love with black and white photography.
Yes.
Almost all my work are in black and white. I find that it's really poetic. And so yeah, we took this in like 10 minutes in when we were in vacations, and there was like a small water ruisseau. And yeah, I was in part of the creation of this. But after, when I was, yeah, as musicians, I don't know for you, but we have to do so many things, like different things. We have to be and social medias specialists. We have to book the concert to do sometimes more computer work than music work. And I found in love with Canva. I know it's, well, the little
Me too.
yeah. So I was working in Canva, and I was trying with photos for album covers, and it was that. So all the project was made from scratch, I would say.
And yes, so you have been photographing for a while, but like you mentioned, this black and white style. I also feel like you have the most gorgeous portraits. I'm always really drawn to pictures of people, and you're like so good at capturing the essence. And I also feel like there's kind of a nostalgia about it. So tell us a little bit. When did you start with photography? Because you've been doing all this music, and now you're starting this other form.
Yeah, photography was my hobby at first, and it still is. But about 15 years ago, I was with another partner, and he was a great amateur photographer. So I decided to buy a camera myself and to learn slowly but surely how this is work. And my first photos were horrible. I mean, I didn't understand like how the light works, like the triangle of exposition and all those things. It was just like, oh, I just tried to get good images, but then I learned a lot, and I took workshops as well. And because I'm a musician, musicians friends started to ask me, oh, can you do my portraits and everything? So I started doing that more as a professionally, and now it's my sideline. But I at some point I found that I lose a little bit my relation with my hobby, like I was doing it
Yes.
so now as I compose, this take more my time. So I decided for now just to take to keep photography as a hobby, uh, like it was at first. And yeah, I really love doing portrait because I'm as like I was saying before, I love to be in the action, but also to have like relation with people, like
Yeah.
one on one. I like that a lot, and I find that you can access to the vulnerability of the people you're taking, and I like that. And it's really important for me to find a way that they feel comfortable enough to let themselves like be themselves, because being in front of camera is it can be overwhelming, or people don't like that a lot. Me personally, I prefer being behind the camera than
Yes.
in front. So I can understand how you are tense, but I like to make them comfortable. And yeah, to and one face can have so many different like expressions, and it's fantastic for me to be a witness of that.
Yeah, your Instagram is so beautiful to scroll through and see all these portraits and landscapes and all these little moments that you've captured. Um, Tell us a little bit now. You are a music teacher as well.
Mhm.
So, what are some of your favorite moments with students? That are you teaching them at the young level or more advanced?
I do both, but I have a lot of friends, kids, like musicians, kids,
Yeah.
because yeah, my network is music. But I love them. I don't have kids myself, so they're all my kids, and I find that it's so touching to see them evolve. And now I have a student. She's 19 now, but she started when she was 5, and now
Oh,
she's almost like a young sister. And sometimes it's more like a therapy. Like I'm there to listen to them as well when they pass through the teenage years. And I don't know, I always love to share. It's so important to teach especially when the schools just they cut in culture and in music. So I find that they're very lucky that to have parents that who pay lessons to them. So I try to give them the more that I can, and we improvise in the lessons too. But I also teach to to older students, and it's another thing. I don't know if you teach yourself, but it's
I
yeah,
did in the past a little.
yeah. But it's fun. It's yeah, I'm lucky, and I choose I don't need have I don't want to have more a lot of students, because it gets too complicated when I go on tour and everything. So I just keep like 15, and that's my maximum. But I choose them, and they choose me, I guess, as well.
Do you find that, because you're involved in so many different areas, that like if you're getting maybe a little stressed and drained from one, you can pivot and go to another creative energy and then get fulfilled?
Yeah, totally. Because sometimes it's hard to find the balance between it's too much or it's not enough. But sometimes I feel overwhelmed with everything I have. So something can nourish me, and I think it's a great thing to wear many hats.
Yeah.
But at some points, I wish I could be more present in every of
Yeah.
of them. And it's a great thing.
Yeah, you need about 5 of yourselves to do everything that you want in each of those disciplines. But tell us, Amélie, so obviously Aqualudes is out, it's available to stream. What is next for you on your plan?
Well, now I'm working with Pierre Lapointe, the singer I was talking about, and we're on tour for the next year. And he decided to give the opportunity of my piano duo to accompany him. So I did all the arrangements for 4 hands, and so now it's a great thing, because we're going to France and to Japan and to Quebec, all over Quebec. So the next month will be very busy with that. And I want to learn more about the RPG, the instrument that we were talking about. I want to learn how to play it correctly, because I just play a couple of minutes here and there. And I would like to compose maybe pieces that are more experimental, like not necessarily just for piano, but I want to explore another side of my creativity with composition. And I'm working now on the editing of the score of the pieces on Aqualudes, because the pieces are now in the program of Vincent Dindy, and Université Laval, so the students can play my pieces in exam now.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I have a great friend, and she's doing a paper, very beautiful paper work, and she print in the past. She have big machines, and so we will do a beautiful book, and I will include my photographies in this. So it's just for fun. I don't think I will sell tons of copies, but I'm doing a paper book of my Aqualudes pieces.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for coming to chat with me. It's been just so interesting to pick your brain a bit.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I hope my English was not too hard to understand.
It was perfect. So everyone, do check out Aqualudes. I'm probably, again, killing the pronunciation myself. But you can follow Amélie on Instagram. She has a website, and we hope that you will join us back here for the next episode of the Crossover Deep Dive.